What is up, everybody? Oh, we got to appear first. I'm so excited for our show today. I am Blue Toshi. This is the Blue Node Lounge, where we interview Ordinals artists, Bitcoin macro stuff, traders, thinkers, and all sorts of just people who like to try and make this world a better place and change it. But today I've got an awesome guest and one of my favorite artists in this space. Welcome to the show, Burst. So good to have you here.
Hey man, hey Blue Toshi, what's going on? It's really nice being here, and I'm just typing some haha into the chat.
All right,
What an honor. Thanks so much for
yeah,
having me.
let's add haha into the chat. I love your background. Usually I'm able to do some cool stuff with green screens for my guests, but you came in and you just did that. It looks amazing. Love the anon, love the background. It fits well.
Amazing. Yeah, haha, it's all about haha. But not just that, it's more than that.
Yeah, no, I want to get into it for sure. So you've got such a fascinating story, and I'm sure a lot of people know you and know your art, and we'll get into that, and we'll look at a bunch of different pieces in your on Cyber gallery, which I think is so cool. I love that. But let's transport you back. Um, it sounds like you grew up in a very creative household. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, my father is also an artist, so when I grew up at home as a kid, I still today have the smell of oil paint and of you know of the strong oils in my nose. So my father was painting. He was a graphic designer, painter, and my mother was running a record store and a bookstore. So we had in Austria the brand Libro, and they had old school like cassettes, vinyl, CDs. And I was growing up in this both worlds at home, a lot of painting, a lot of physical art.
Mm-hmm.
And after school, I went always, I passed by the record store of my mother, and I was listening to a lot of tapes, a lot of records from every kind of genre on the afternoons until it was nighttime, and my mother said, "Hey, we have to go home. We have to go home." And then I don't want it to leave. I was still listening to records and or watching some or reading some books. Yeah, so that was my upbringing.
Right. So art and creativity, like it just oozed out of every pore of your parents in different ways. Your mom with books and music, your dad with painting, oil. It sounds like there was always paintings in the house. It sounds like he was always doing something. So that fresh smell of oil is just, I assume whenever you smell a similar blend of oil paints, it just takes you right back to the memories of being at home with mom and dad in the old days.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost cliche. I mean, now talking about it, it's really almost cliche,
Eh,
but later on, I realized like when I was writing that thread about me and my art, then I kind of like went back in time and realized like, okay, wait a minute, there is more to the story, or that's actually true. I mean, for me, this was my reality growing up, and Stephen, who I started working with 2 years ago, he was pointing that out that hey, I should talk about, I should share as much as I want to, but share about that aspect as well, because context is always helpful for people to contextualize the person, or let's say the identity behind the art, so to speak.
yeah, no, I think so too. And I'm a big fan of when people come on the show, especially for the first time, yeah, we can get right into whatever collection you just worked on or whatever. But to me, I like to get to know the artist more and kind of what's behind what the thinking behind the artist is. Cause I guess for me, like there's a possibility of over explaining art in a collection and using big fancy words, which I know you wouldn't do, but if you know the person, then it's like the art just kind of makes more sense without having to kind of like be a Hollywood movie where it's just like, like movies have gotten a lot dumber over the years where, like conclusions and finales have to like punch you in the face literally to to be done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, man. Yeah, and then later on, because you have it up there, later on, not just later, I mean, I started playing piano at the age of 6 or 7. I think, I mean, prior to that, I was always, when we were at the neighbors or at some place where there was a piano, I was always sitting down playing the piano. So that's how I ended up with 6 or 7 actually, in a music school, and I had classical music education. I had a very dedicated teacher who thought I have talent, and then she onboarded me, and I went through the hard drill of classical music.
Uh-huh.
Many years. Went to had many concerts every year, several concerts, preparing for the concerts, and eventually also about competition and stuff like that. So. Um, yeah, and then as a teenager, because I was growing up partially in a record store, I was very interested into hip hop, into sampling, and stuff like that. It did that really grabbed me, and it took over. For me, it was like when I was a kid, I was listening to a lot to Michael Jackson, to all the kind of like commercial pop stars or pop music, Dire Straits, what else? But I
Oh
was
man,
also
I love
listening
Dire
to,
Straits, Calling Elvis, and
yeah,
I mean Mark Knopfler is just such an incredible guitarist.
it
But I mean,
is,
it's
it
cool. I
is.
mean, when
Like,
you're young, like listening to Michael Jackson and a lot of the pop stuff, like there's some really good tunes in there, But as you get older, and obviously, as our minds get more mature and at some point psychedelic, like we
yeah,
broaden our perspective big time. So,
yeah.
so you were big, like your first transition out of pop was into hip hop. Who are some of the most influential artists that you just love listening to growing up?
I mean, growing up, it was always classical music. 6, 7,
Okay.
I was playing classical music until the beginning of my 20s. But part to that, yeah, listening to pop, listening to rock, listening to a lot of this kind of stuff, and then hip hop grabbed me. It was around 12 or 13, and I would say the golden age of hip hop, right? So the early 90s, Tupac, big fan of Tupac, Notorious
Yeah.
B.I.G., Wu-Tang Clan, man. Wu-Tang were super huge for me. Like they were just a game changer, They were so different. RZA, the kind of beats he made, all this kind of camouflage of different rappers. It was just so liberating, because you always even within hip hop you had like very straightforward kind of tracks, and then suddenly Wu-Tang came around and they just changed the game, so and I was also very very into freestyle rapping, and I loved battles, so I myself went to battles, and I wasn't that like such a good rapper, but I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the culture. I enjoyed, graffitis and all everything what comes and creates hip hop. Like you have the
Yeah.
big three, four, five. Like breakdance, graffiti, beats, sampling, rapping, all of that. The culture.
Yeah.
So that was, as a teenager, it was very very strong. It was very like, okay. That's big. I want to be part of that as well as with being part of classical music,
Right.
and being good as an instrumentalist,
Well, and
So
good for you for, you're like, I wasn't a great rapper. You know what though? You tried and you did it. And I'll bet you with who you are today and your art, like it just, everything you try, that doesn't kill you is just going to make you stronger and smarter. And you're such a well-rounded artist. I mean, let's just give people, I love this little concerto you perform here, but let's just listen for a sec. they do. It's beautiful. And you know what I noticed about you? I looked at a couple pictures. You know, I went through this post. I thought it was great. You're often in bare feet or in socks. Am I correct?
Yes.
I saw it
Yes.
like because I looked. I saw your picture at inscribing was in Amsterdam, and I was like, he's
Yeah.
barefoot. So are you just are you like this is how you spread out and make yourself comfortable? Like is that you on an airplane too, or what's
Dude, it's crazy because I did it just once at a conference, and that was at Inscribing Amsterdam. And in these videos, yeah, because it's always usually summer, or in Peru, in Latin America, where I lived for 5 years, it's always hot. So that was the main reason. But to be honest, maybe I just make it to a trademark right now. I think from now on, I will have it as a trademark, and wherever I'm at the conference, I will be barefoot.
he's anon everybody, but you can identify him from his feet. That's the only thing. That's the only thing he's gonna
Yes,
give you. I love it.
yes.
Are you going to Vegas? And you don't have to answer that question if you don't want to.
No, no. At this point, I have just like big stuff coming up,
Yeah,
and I have a baby at home, and I moved back to Europe, so I'm not in the Americas.
right.
So to make such a trip is just like a bigger logistic, and but I will be. We can talk about it later, but there will be a lot of haha in Vegas.
Yeah, no,
Um,
let's definitely get into that.
yeah.
I want to stay a little with your growing up in childhood because it's to me it's fascinating. So you were into Biggie, you were into Tupac. Were you into like Eric B. and Rakim or early Beastie Boys or Tribe Called Quest, or was that a little before your time?
Yes, both like Tribe Called Quest and Beastie Boys 100%, very early on.
All right, best
And
Beastie Boys album. Then there is an answer to this.
uh, no, man, now you captured me
No,
by the
that's
wrong
okay.
foot.
I'll tell you what it is. It's Paul's Boutique by far. It's by far. And
Okay,
you mentioned tapes at your mom's store. Paul's
yeah.
Boutique was one of the best tapes they ever had because it actually came in red, yellow, green, black, and blue. So
Oh,
I
nice.
mean those sat in our car. I think I was 16 at the time. Those sat in our little car cassette decks, and all me and all my friends had different colors, but that thing would just spin. It'd flip sides. It'd spin to the. I mean, we listened to that thing over and over. And obviously, Tribe's first album, People's Instinctive
Yeah,
Travels in the Paths of Rhythm. Just
yeah,
what a great album.
yeah.
And their last album before, was it Fife Who Died? I mean, that album is absolutely incredible with Melatonin. And there's so many good songs on there.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so you're also into hip hop. I love that. I love if my
We didn't
host
call it hip
is
hop back then. I mean, I'm just old,
okay.
so we were the first
Yeah,
generation. Like my brother and sister are way older than me, and they're like, "What are you listening to?" Like we'd listen to NWA and Easy E and all that
yeah,
stuff, and we did because it was awesome and it was so different. It had been nothing we had experienced before. So it was, I always like to say Gen X, like, we get made fun of a lot and we're a teeny little generation, but we were kind of the first fans, the first geek fans of a lot of different
oh,
kind of things that totally blossomed for the millennials and the younger generations.
well, I mean, of course, I have to mention, like Eminem was also very
Oh yeah.
influential for me. Although he was like crazy, but it was just because he had just such a huge success. It was very impressive. The kind of beats he had, the Dr. Dre, of course, Snoop Dogg. I mean, all of it, man. Like I ate all of it. I really loved it. And then, of course, I cannot just not mention this because for me, jazz became very big.
Yeah.
Like listening to Brad Mehldau. Brad Mehldau is one of my all-time heroes, on the piano.
Wait, sorry,
Shout
what's
out
his
to
name?
Brad Mehldau.
How do you spell that last name?
Brad Mehldau. He's a pianist from New York. He's regarded as, I would say, maybe the most prolific, still living, and still in a good age, jazz pianist. So yeah.
Oh, I gotta check him out.
Yeah, you have to check him out, man. And he has produced so many albums. It's like he won a Grammy a couple of years ago. And the crazy thing is, I met the guy who designed his cover in New York. It was just a coincidence,
No
as
way.
always in New York. So yeah, and then later on, I was starting my own bands. You know, I was starting playing in rock bands, in fusion bands, all kinds of genres. As I was listening to all kinds of genre, I was playing in many kinds of different bands, and in this post you can see that yeah, I was touring a lot actually. So my initial goal was to be a successful musician. I hosted many parties. I toured in Germany. Um, and I was working with very well-known producers actually.
Hmm.
And we were kind of, almost before the brink of like, having huge success. I had two very ambitious bands in Austria, and but then everything came different. Everything changed. I had a big breakup at some point in my 20s, and then life changed a lot,
Are we
and
talking
but
about
all the
breakup with
time,
the band or with a girl?
both, both,
Oh,
both.
you're like all the above, dude. It just, sometimes I'm
Yeah,
sure it was tough at the time and I'm sure you had to pick up the pieces, but sometimes the biggest blowups we have don't make sense at the time. And then later you're like, my God, like I needed that and I needed that whole
yeah,
experience. But now,
yes,
like, it blew up and now I've shot out of a cannon in this direction and I can't believe like
exactly.
it's always meant to be in hindsight, but obviously when you're in it you're like, oh, this is terrible, like what's going on.
Yes.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So we say in German, you are creating your air castles, the castles in the air. Like
oh,
you have your dreams, and you have the perception of it. This is how it has to be. And usually it's not always gonna be like as you wish for it.
it's dude, it's
You
never
have
as
to have
you wish. And if it is, then you were
yeah,
too controlling and cookie cutter because I'm a
exactly,
firm believer that the older I get, the more you let go. Like you put your intention out there, you do the work that you want to do that you enjoy day by day, and you don't try and plan ahead too far because doors open then that you had no idea were even doors. Whereas if you try and like manipulate and control the doors and be like, I want to get with this A&R producer to produce this album this way, like that may
exactly.
happen, but that may be like a path you took that wasn't nearly as cool or crazy and as explosive and big as the one if you just kind of like let let go, you know?
Exactly, exactly, exactly. I can totally, wow, feel that and agree with it, man, because this is what then later on happened with me with my art, and everything what happened since 2019. But until then, it was a very, very heavy and very intense lifestyle. I was living in Vienna in my 20s,
Uh,
and these pictures show it well, basically. Yeah, that was my last studio, or it was just a one-room bedroom where I had my music, I had my
I
art,
love
I
it.
had yeah, and in this room I was creating a lot of already haha works, which at that point still hadn't had that. I didn't have the persona. I was not operating as Burst, and but I did a fake show, so that's a very interesting fact, maybe that with one of my bands, I did a fake show. So I did a exhibition for a music video, and uh, and for the music video, I created a lot of artworks, uh, which we showcased and we filmed like a fake exhibition. And actually, many works from that exhibition later on ended up on Super Rare, which I sold for initially just a couple of bucks, and later on for many thousands of dollars and many ETH. And that's surreal. It's a very surreal, narrative right there, because the intention was totally different. Later on, I did something way, way different out of that. So it was for me, it's always like interwoven, like I'm a very intuitive person, so I'm flowing with my art, I'm flowing with my music and with everything what I'm doing, also with life. I'm very intuitive with life decisions sometimes, mostly actually. That's how I also ended up in Latin America because 2019, my girlfriend back then, now wife, she decided
Congratulations.
to
It sounds like you kept a good
thanks.
one.
Yes, the best one.
Good.
And she had the vision to go to Latin America and start a project there because she's a therapist, psychotherapist, and she wanted to lay some groundwork for what she's doing in Peru. And that's how I went to visit her in 2019 after she was there already a couple of months, and actually there, um, while going to some sessions, to some jam session, I met another artist, had a conversation with him, and he was from Venezuela, and he was like a refugee in Peru because he had to flee his country, because of the hyperinflation in Venezuela. And thanks to Bitcoin and to Steam, back then people were using a lot Steam.
Right.
He on Steam he could earn a couple of dollars with his poems and with his artworks, and those couple of dollars saved his ass in Venezuela because the dollar there were, it was like I think he mentioned at some point the monthly wage was $4. So it that you have to imagine what kind of hyperinflation was
God.
going on there. And so he had to flee his country. He fled to Peru, and that's where I met him after he was already there for six
Is
months.
that
Exactly, that's the guy.
that's it? That's what I thought. I was looking this morning at the pictures. I was like, I think I know exactly who he's talking about. So
Yes,
awesome.
that's Yu Simon. Big shout out to Yu Simon. He's a great artist, and he was my mentor. Like he onboarded me. I met him, and then at some day we was in a vape store, and I was talking about him. I was like, "Hey, fuck, man, I need to find a way to make some money as an expat or as a digital nomad, being here now in Peru." And he was like, "Dude, but you're doing art, right?" And I showed him my art. It's like, that's totally something for super rare. Have you heard of crypto art? I was like, nope, I heard of crypto, but crypto art. And so right there, the whole journey and the whole story started. A rabbit hole unfolded in front of my eyes, and he showed me MetaMask. He onboarded me. He told me like, hey, talk to Zach from Super Rare. He knows me. Mention my name. Mention that I told you to call him. And back then it was like, there were just like, I don't know, 100 people, 100 artists, 200
Wow.
artists active. And that's how I texted Zach, and he was jumping on a call with me on Google Meet, and yeah, he just wanted to confirm if I'm a real person. But he was right away wanted to onboard me, and a month later, no, actually not a month later, because it was spring of 2019, and I had to go back to Austria.
Right.
I worked in a club, in a music club, my ass off 5 days a week, like until 4 in the morning, and then I had the money to actually my girlfriend had to send me some money because I couldn't afford the flight, and she even bought me a MacBook Air because I had no savings for buying a MacBook, but she believed in
I
me
was gonna
that
say she believed in you.
yeah. And that's how and end of 2019 I got to Peru and I started to mint on Super Rare, my first works. Yeah.
Oh, congratulations, man. So the super rare. Okay, so here's some of the first mints on super rare, or is this like all of them in here?
I mean, that's all of it, right? So that's you're scrolling through the whole Super Rare
The burst
works.
collection. Let's see.
Yeah, but
Collection.
if you go on first artworks or latest artworks, on the right side you have a button for filter.
Right
Um,
here.
there where I am, where you have me in the screen, yeah, then you go to oldest.
There you go. Sweet. So this is the first one.
It has to load. It's not load. Yeah, now it's loading. Yeah.
It'll be a little slower for you, yeah.
So that's the very, very, very first piece of art I did on blockchain, on any blockchain. Yeah.
Very cool. Now,
That's
is this IPFS or is it
yeah. So of course, these 2019,
yeah.
you know, that was all IPFS. But If you go way up again,
Okay.
exactly that piece right there, the highlighted piece, for example.
That's cool.
So that piece is existing already now as ordinals under my parent-child under Burns. So I created four big parents under my haha signature. One is for art, the next one is for syntax, the other one is for sound, and then is one for Burns. Everything which is existing already on ETH and can be burned over to Bitcoin Ordinals. So this one for I can share you the link. This one is an old piece. It's already a couple of years old on ETH, and it's part of a series. I don't know the name right now, but something with dimensionality.
Nine
And
dimension Rue M porn. Are you
yeah, room per, but it's part of it's part of it's a triptychon, so it's part of two other
Oh, cool.
artworks.
No, I love it. I love the perspective on it. I love the like 3D element and the glitchy nature of it. So so you took a lot of your ETH art and correct me if I'm mistaken, but you teleburned it over to ordinals once you got into ordinals. Is that correct?
No, 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 no. No, but I have already created, so to speak, the tree where
The,
where it's very easily possible for already like collectors who are on ETH and collected something on ETH.
mhm.
If they want to have that piece as an ordinal, I can establish this under an own Burns parent-child collection.
Okay. So,
And that particular piece is already inscribed on ordinals in my parent child. And so this is not sold yet also on Eve. So that's why I just created like the static image of this piece over now in our ecosystem on ordinals. And either way, if a collector wants to buy it on Eve and decides he wants to actually have it as an ordinal, I can totally make it possible. Or if somebody wants to buy it on ordinals, I'm just going to send this piece over to the ordinal he purchased. And by that, I created this kind of play between chains, so to speak.
yeah, no, I think that's super cool. Are you playing with on-chain art on ETH as well, or no? Your all your on-chain work is now on ordinals.
On-chain is just ordinals.
Very cool. Very cool. No,
Yeah,
this
on-chain is just ordinals.
so we got Base Chain. Thank you for commenting. Base Chain is definitely the best commenter on the show and one of the best art collectors and knowledgeable people of art that I know in the space. Well, this is super. This is super cool. And I love because I mean once you go to ordinals, for at least for me as a collector, I never wanted to leave. But I like with what Chain Leftist does, like there's some cool on-chain stuff on ETH as well. But it sounds like you have now fully made the transition to ordinals. What made you fall in love with ordinals?
I mean, it just clicked. It was the same thing as it was with NFTs in the beginning. Like with NFTs in the beginning was like, what the heck? So this is really like a certificate. This is really like a token. I just, minted it literally on a chain. Even if it was just a certificate, it was game changing,
Right.
like suddenly I can really sell my digital pieces of work, and people can trade it, people can collect it. Um, that was great. And it was life changing because over the years, the amount of ETH I made and also the exhibitions I had and the love I received, it was just incredible. It was really life changing for my family and for me as an artist. So there is no back anymore. There is no turning back anymore. There is like after that level of, I would say, like success or it's just like, now I don't need to be something I'm not anymore, or I don't have to try to be somebody,
Right.
I'm just who I am, and that's amazing. And even if I won't have any success anymore, nobody can take that away. It's like it's just such a liberating thing. But yeah, the transition. So when in 23 in January, first I started to hear that there's maybe the chance that we could have something similar on Bitcoin, but it's really on Bitcoin, like it's
Right.
truly on chain. I was like, no fucking way. This has to be a scam, you know?
Yeah.
I was thinking like this has to be a scam. I was very like, I don't believe this. It's bullshit, you know. It's like you cannot do stuff like that on Bitcoin. So I was actually very skeptical, and I was waiting on the sidelines until Stephen came around, because Stephen was already like a collector of mine on ETH, and we were having discussions and conversations, and he was kind of like the second mentor, so to speak. He was like the next mentor who was saying like, listen, this is how it works, and it's really truly on chain, and this is how Bitcoin works as a canvas. And then the new rabbit hole opened up for me, and I was like, okay, fuck. I need to work on Bitcoin. I need to inscribe my artworks, and I have to learn how to deal with the limitations. I have to learn the new medium, like Bitcoin as a canvas,
Right.
Bitcoin as a medium where I'm interacting with the chain itself to create my artworks, which was a mind shift for me. It was like yeah, I had to find new ways of creating my artworks, and that was a new learning curve, and that learning curve was super helpful for my own development as an artist, I would say.
Yeah. Had you experienced in art where the music or whatever constraints previous? Had you had those challenges before, or was this kind of something new to you where you couldn't have an open world, open canvas to create whatever you want whenever you want?
I mean, in music, in the beginning, yes. In the very early days, you still had limitations with music as well, and there were not so many plugins, and the DAWs were very
Right.
slow. And if you loaded it too much up with plugins, the system crashed. Stuff like that, yes. And you know, I'm also not the youngest anymore, because I'm coming also from a time where we went into the rehearsal room, and we were literally recording on tapes. So we were like on little cassettes. We were recording. There was no memo. I even had a dictaphone. I don't know if that's the name in English, like a little cassette, very little one. And I
Yeah,
was,
I remember those. Those Sony made the little teeny ones. They were better
yes,
than the cassettes. They came out after, but
yes.
Sony always fucked up because they would come out with the cool new technology, but they wouldn't license it to anybody. So the competing system, like Betamax was Sony, but VHS in America won because whoever invented VHS was like, anybody can make it. We'll take a royalty off your machines. And Sony said, no, we'll make it because ours is better. It's better quality. And guess what? Nobody gave a shit. And they went with VHS, and that's where all the tapes got mass produced video wise.
Yeah. Yeah,
Morons.
that's the alpha right there. That's how it was. I mean, for me in music, it was similar at the beginning, I would say, because I was really had to go to the store and buy a CD
Right.
to record my stuff on the CD, even if I just wanted to like memorize something in the rehearsal room. So, you know, this is like super different the early days. So yeah, there were some
Hey,
limitations at the
everybody.
beginning, I would say, man, with music. But then, of course, you know, the Pandora's box opened up with the digitalization of everything, and for a long time, I had no limitations. No, to answer your question, no. And then even with NFTs, yeah, in the beginning we had a limitation of 50 megabytes and super rare, but then they extended it to 100 and 150. So it was like, okay, you can do whatever you want, basically. But then from 100 or 150 megabytes coming down to under 10 kilobytes, that was like a real challenge, man. Like that was really like, what the fuck? And then of course, like, okay, maybe I need something else. I need some tools. So recursion, how does recursion work? Okay, so maybe I want to do something where I won't be able to do it without code. So so I maybe if I cannot code it, I need to team up with somebody who can help me with that. And yeah, so that was a whole journey right there. And I have to say, I really appreciate that part of Bitcoin Ordinals is to work with many people, to have like a chain of workflows where even if I cannot do it, I know somebody who can help me and we help each other out. Stuff like that. That's again very old school.
Right.
Like, it's actually very cool because we can learn from each other, we can support each other, and it's not like I'm a genius and I can do everything by myself because I don't have to. I don't need to be a
Right.
genius to do cool art and that people appreciate, or people want to
Well,
collect.
and I think a lot of people obviously appreciate art. You mentioned Stephen Rice and Ordinally, I believe, helped with a lot of your coding, correct? So, I mean, you basically had two of the best in the absolute business helping you with your art, and well deserved. I'm curious, what does your wife think about all this? Like, she lent you the MacBook Air, she fell in love with you. Is she like blown away, or is she like, of course that was your trajectory because I saw it the whole time?
I mean, I think it's both because not, I mean, to be honest, she always gave me this kind of unconditional confidence. It's unconditional love, but it's more than that. It's more this confidence. Like since I got together with her, she gave me that confidence, that feeling of like you can fucking do it. Like you just have to do it. And she was very supportive from the get-go, from the beginning. And she was like, "No, do it. Sign up. Try to mint." And actually, she became an expert of herself. Like she is actually very knowledgeable about everything. And if I talk with her about something, she totally understands it. So that's crazy, the amount of time I talked with her about this stuff made her actually like kind of like an expert.
Yeah.
So,
That's
so
pretty
that's
cool. So
very
she's
fun.
so she's into ordinals and she's kind of into the scene as well.
No, 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 not at all. No. But intellectually, she understands a lot
She gets
actually.
it.
So
She gets it. Cuz I mean,
that's
honestly, most let's be honest, most family, spouses and close friends don't really get it. You know what I mean? And obviously she lives with you, so she's going to absorb it because you have to have someone to be like, "Oh my god, this happened, that happened." So, and it
yeah,
sounds like she's into art and she's into music therapy and all that stuff, but like a lot of family and spouses just simply totally don't get it.
yeah.
Like I've seen
I
it
mean, to be
time and time
honest,
again.
yeah, it's interesting, right? I mean, to be honest, I mean, this is some very like, personal stuff, but she even helps me with like negotiations, or she is very knowledgeable of like how to price, like overprice, underprice, stuff like that. Because I mean, she studied psychology,
Right.
she studied psychotherapy, and she's sometimes even better in conversations than me. Like I mean, I'm also like I think not a bad conversationalist, but she's just on another level. Like she's like like and often she's like almost like counseling, like or like it helps me a lot with stuff like that, and
Right.
vice versa. Like me too. Like I can also sometimes be that person for her.
Well,
So
that's, I mean, you're very
I would,
complimentary in your skills. You can't be just because you're a great artist doesn't make you a good negotiator, doesn't, like, and obviously you're very
yeah,
social, but it sounds like you guys know how and when to pass the baton. I mean, that's what a good relationship is. That's super cool. And yeah, don't share anything personal that you don't want to. But I know you had some of that in your story. But your wife sounds like an absolute incredible woman. So I want to ask you, how did haha evolve? You started out as this classical pianist. You listened to classical music your whole childhood. Your dad's painting. Your mom's I got a record and bookstore. Then you evolve into pop and rock, and then eventually you get into hip hop. You fall in love with that. Like how does haha and your art style and your persona evolve out of this? Like why did it come to be?
I mean, I would say the same way in music there was a rabbit hole, there was like an evolution of transitioning from genre to genre, from learning, from like evolution. You almost like, permeates out the knowledge about harmonies, the knowledge about genres, about styles. The same way I kind of like feel like if I'm looking back now, the same thing happened for me with art. So it was like at home, my father was a big fan of Miro, of Picasso. He was a big fan of I would say, the traditional big heroes, big painters.
Right.
I studied them because it was just laying on the floor. It was everywhere at home, like Van Gogh, impressionist, expressionist, stuff like that. But then as a teenager, since I fell in love into hip hop and I fell in love into jazz music, bebop, John Coltrane, Gillespie, all of the big
Hugh
ones there.
Masekela.
Um, who?
Hugh Masekela from South Africa.
I heard of him, but I cannot recollect
Oh,
now.
he's
I have
awesome.
to. I
Well,
have
I
to.
need to check out. Is it Brett Mildow? Mildow?
Mildau,
Brett
yeah.
Mildow. I'm
Oh,
definitely
we
gonna
have
check
to
that out.
share some
Yeah,
jazz
yeah, yeah, yeah,
musicians,
yeah.
dude.
For sure, dude. For sure.
Yeah, so then actually, getting into experimental music, avant-garde, noise, lo-fi, dithering. So it was like, it was like if I started from classical to pop to, and then the same with in the same in art. So um after the going through art history, like I was really going through art history, learning from the old ones and getting into the new time, into our time, and this at the same time I was painting for myself, I was drawing for myself. I never shared it, or if I shared it, just to friends or my family. I never planned to do exhibitions, although my father was always supporting, was always saying like, hey, you have to continue, 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 and I was like, I'm just doing it, it's I don't have that big ambition to
Do you think
be
when
the
you're
big.
younger too, it's harder? Like, whereas music is a very motion based and frantic activity, especially when you're a teenager in your young 20s. Do you think you almost needed to like come more into yourself and into your body before you could have the patience to create and paint and stuff like that?
Wow, you just nailed it right
Dude,
there.
I'm old, so I just know
Yeah,
patterns and I know people.
yeah. Because I mean, 100%, 100%. I have to agree with that. As a teenager, I was also painting and drawing, but it was never the intention or the knowledge
Right.
and the context in which or out of why I'm doing what I'm doing as a visual artist was just different. And then in my 20s, with all of the experience I made, pop culture itself as a topic, because I was a frontman in bands. I was also a producer at the back end. So having all of these insights within the creation of a piece of art or piece of music, that helped a lot, because then in my 20s, to actually finance my music pathways or my life as an artist, I was working as a restorer of art. So I got these side hustles, I got these jobs as an assistant, working in a workshop, in a wood workshop and wall workshop, and then metal workshop. So I started with metal. I went to wall. No, first second to wood, and then ending up on wall. And I worked on big pieces of artworks actually in Vienna. Yeah, right there. Yeah, that was my last big job. That was crazy. That's still up there. I mean, if you go to the next picture, I think. Yeah, this one here. So that's a reconstruction of Art Nouveau wall frieze by Koloman Moser, who was one of the Art Nouveau artists from Vienna. He was in the same group of artists with Klimt, with Gustav Klimt and Egon Schiele.
Right.
And so that was the big, I would say, the golden age in the 20th century of art in Vienna. That's where I'm also right now. That's my hometown. And that was the last big restoration job I got. Actually, 1 year before I went to Peru.
God, this it's
Um,
incredible. So wait, you restored this whole building and the top and everything?
no, 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 no. I reconstructed with a master restorer at the backside, at the right backside. There's a huge wall as well, and there is this reconstruction. If you go to the next picture, yeah, this
Got it.
reconstruction.
Okay, got it, got it. So cool
Yeah,
though.
that was, yeah, many weeks of work, many weeks of work. Yeah.
That's so cool that you oh there we go. There's a great shot of it. Oh yeah, that
Yeah, so that was I mean, I did this to kind of like finance my lifestyle because it was a lifestyle. I was every night going out, being up until 4 or 5 in the morning. It was a very,
so you like to
drinking, smoking a lot,
yeah,
having fun, but also doing a lot of arts, creating a lot of music, and to finance it, I was doing jobs like this. But the cool stuff about that was I was learning deep, high end, like how these kind of pieces of artworks got created,
right.
like the way the artists work, the way they created the pigments, the way they put it up on the canvas, put it up on the wall, or worked with wood. And I kind of learned the techniques by working as an assistant for restoration. So,
No, but I mean
you
it's
know,
cool. It's you know you've got to like you had a lot of fun in your late teens and 20s, like a lot of us did, and you were funding that, but you were also paving the way for becoming a better artist. Like I see a lot of texture in here, and I know a lot of your early works. Just looking at your pictures, like you love to put different materials together and overlay and stuff like that. Do you feel like going from physical to digital like was an advantage, or is it so different because like did you miss the texture and the touch of doing art?
no, not at all. I mean,
Nope.
no, not at all. No, the thing is, it's just an extension because I'm also in my description I say is like bridging the gap between digital and physical is like for me is like it's just an extension because the way there is another video of me in Peru, maybe you can show it, where the people can see my time in Peru, but also can see the early pieces of works, what I did on Eve, but also still today, often I start with something physical. So I start the process with a piece of paper or with a piece of garbage, which I'm using as a canvas, like scraps, stuff I find, papers lying around, creating alternative canvases basically, which I'm using to
Right.
paint on as a first, let's say, like starting point of something which I'm digitalizing, and then maybe in the digital process, I'm changing it so much. Like this piece, for example, it started with a physical piece of work where the left side, which is let's say the left wall, which is coming from below, going up.
Right.
So that's a piece of work which is existing. But of course, it's not existing with this bright colors. It's not existing with this kind
Right.
of contrast and coloring. So I even colored it in a different way. So the on top and below, those are the same piece of work, but just different coloration, different kind of manipulation of the surfaces. But it started with actually like a physical piece of work. And even the haha on the right side, or even the haha I'm using here in the back, that's written on a piece. That's actually written on a used toilet paper roll. I created like out of toilet paper roll like a canvas, painted it black, and wrote with a correction pen "haha" all over it.
I love it.
And then I digitalized it by waiting for the right time with the sun because I'm always using daylight to digitalize stuff because then you can have this shadowy effects which is created by the way the sun is hitting the surface.
Hmm.
So that's because another collector of mine on Eve asked me, dude, how do you manage to make it so vibrant or make it so livable? Almost is like living,
Yeah,
even
yeah.
if it's that. So that's done by shadows. That's done by the way I use light from the sun,
Right.
not like artificial light. It has to be daylight and sunlight, and it's a specific angle, and it's usually right before midday or in the afternoon in a certain hour, where it's perfect. At least in Peru, it was it was like that. It always depends on where
Right.
you live. And then I use that to manipulate the whole thing in a digital process.
So where does
Um,
did we ever get to the bottom of where does how did what was there an aha moment, no pun intended, or was it just like it kept reoccurring, it kept appearing, and that's it kind of just shaped this anonymous persona that you've created.
Uh, Two things. Like, yeah, there was an aha moment actually. In that room which you showed before, which was my studio before going to Peru, that one bedroom. I was on my desk, like I'm now on my desk, and I had these pieces of work laying around on the floor, these canvases and these works on paper, and I love to use gaffer tape, black
Uh
gaffer
huh.
tape
Sure.
on my artworks. But for me, it was too black. It was too like negative or too dark.
Right.
Yeah, exactly that room. So there I was sitting on the left side in the corner there, and I had my screen there and my books in the back, and I was always there where you have the synthesizer, the old one here in front.
Right.
Usually there, I had a lot of paintings on the floor, and I was looking over there, and I was like, okay, that's really cool. I love the vibrant colors. I love the expression, the neo-expressive style I'm working with here. And I wanted to have that gaffer tape in the canvas. I wanted to use different kind of materials on the canvas, on the surface. And gaffer, because in music, if you play on stage, to fix stuff which is laying on the floor, you're using gaffer tape to really make it fixed on the
Yeah.
floor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if you don't want to really move, like you can see in that picture a lot of cables on the floor. So that's usually how you don't want it to have on a professional music stage, right? On a professional music stage, you want it taped on the floor so nobody can
Right.
fall
And it's totally well
over it.
hidden on the black floor. Yeah.
Exactly. So usually you're using black duct tape or gaffer tape, and I had a lot laying around at home,
Got
and
it.
I was like, fuck, I want to use that in my artwork. And then I used it. I created a frame within a frame, and I was like, oh, I don't know. That's cool, but actually, I want to have something. It needs to be because I was always playing with what is authentic, what is human.
Right.
The canvas. If somebody's standing in front of the painting of the canvas, it should be too artificial. It should give the feeling of like what is left of us in this digital world, what is left of us, which is truly human. It should be a feeling, an expression, something everybody can relate to. And that's how I got to laughter, and that's how I got to joy and something which we all can relate to. Um, because in one of my bands I played with, I had a crazy singer, a girl. She was always laughing. Then when I got together with my now wife, there was also like a theme going on always. Like when we met, and we didn't met for a long time. She was out of joy and love. She was just laughing. She couldn't hold it back. And so there was something very personal, I would say, and emotional to it. Why I used haha. But then I was also like a fan of like, and not just like, how should I say? For me, it was I had a very like mixed um upbringing. Like I would say, like on the one hand, I was doing what I wanted to do. And on the other hand, I was struggling in school actually. So I was struggling in life. Because as an artist, I tried to
Yeah.
make it as an artist, but it wasn't easy. And so I was
Did
struggling
you
with, I
struggle in
would say,
school because like you loved art, you grew up with art? Schools obviously are very one size fits all cookie cutter. Like did
yes,
you just like was school boring to you, or was it also
yes.
is traditional learning just super hard for you too?
Both. But definitely this hierarchical thing of, you have a teacher in front and is
Right.
teaching something, and you have to listen and you have to do a test and stuff like that. That wasn't something that worked for me. That was just something, the wrong concept of learning stuff. And I was always like, fight the power and stuff like that. So I was always like, revolutionary, and I just couldn't fit into the normal system. I was not I was not, and still not that type of person. So it's like,
Right.
uh, and so probably out of that, because I had this dichotomy in me of like, so on the one hand you have this system, this the country, even the country saying you can do this, you cannot do this. you have to fit in, stuff like that. And then on the other hand, you want to do art, you
Right.
want to be free, you want to be a free thinker and do whatever you love. So there is already like a dichotomy,
Right.
right? And then growing up, there were some expectations, I would say, also from home. And then later in life, struggling with money a little bit, trying to survive, trying to make it alone
Right.
in the system, stuff like that. And then also me, I have a background as a first generation immigrant. I was born in Austria, but still my roots were from Eastern Europe and from Transylvania. And still that was still like a topic, I would say. And I had to go, I wouldn't say I had to go the extra mile because it never felt to me, but in the end, it was probably still something which was part of my
Oh,
identity.
for sure.
And
Because your parents had to, they had to flee and get away from the
yeah,
Iron Curtain, correct? They had to get away from Russia's orbit to
yes,
get to a more free place
yes.
so they could, make money, follow their arts and passions, and give you opportunity that they didn't have when they were younger.
Exactly, 100%. So you can imagine like growing up in such kind of household, it was like maybe demanding and maybe also like loaded with expectations and stuff like
Right. Like
that.
we
So
sacrifice this so you're going to keep going and like you're going to crush it cuz
yes,
we created some space for you to be able to do this, so we have high expectations.
yes. And I mean, we have now here, wow, this is going deep, man.
It should
I
go
mean, this
deep.
is
How
going
else
deep.
how else will we do this? We're going to go shallow?
Yeah,
Like
man. I
this
mean,
ordinals, good ordinals art, and guys like you, they're not shallow. They're it's complex.
yeah, I mean, it's the crazy thing is, because also my now you can maybe fill in the dots. You can create the puzzle pieces and
Sure.
you can see almost like a psychogram of the artist because the interesting stuff is like my father has to like he had to sacrifice a lot. Like he always wanted to be an artist. He always wanted to make it. Like his big hero was Picasso.
Right.
And for me, I like right now, I never wanted to be, I never wanted to be like a famous painter or a famous artist. I just did art, but I actually wanted to be a successful musician. And it's so crazy how life plays sometimes,
Yeah.
like, is like you end up doing that what maybe your parents wanted to do. And my mother, she was now, listen to this, my mother was actually what she learned in the communist, party. She was like an investor for investing into businesses in Romania or
Right.
in Transylvania. So she was like in an investment firm. So and then you have like my father wanted to be an artist. My mother was working in an investment firm,
Sure.
and before they left Eastern Europe, right? And what I'm doing is actually I'm an artist, I do art, but at the same time, I'm dealing with crypto and I have a lot of holdings into crypto coins and into assets myself. So I'm actually like almost feel sometimes like I'm holding a portfolio of assets and dealing in some sort of way like an investor. So it's like so it's like the culmination of
And
both.
you learn that
And
stuff,
that's
like to be, my son always talks about like I want to be a scientist, I want to do this. I'm like, that's fine, but you should take one entrepreneur class in high school or college or whatever, because you never know when. I said working for other people can be fine, but as you get older, you're only going to want more and more of your own freedom, because I can tell you that as the older you get, the most important thing was never money. It's time. It's time to do
yeah,
what you want when you want, and as long as it doesn't hurt
yeah,
others and it's to the benefit of yourself and your curiosity and your learning, there's no replacement for that. Like I've been out of corporate America for 20 years, and I've been doing what I wanted to do for the past 20 years, and and I've had different business partners along the way. Some have lasted longer than others, and it's been awesome. It's been just an awesome ride. And every day that I wake up and I do what I want to do and things seem to work out okay, whether, and you're an artist and you do this, it's just funny. You're like, my, so many people are like, yeah, I'm a dentist like my dad. I took over the practice. You're like, I really want to be a musician, but I found all this success in art, and you're sitting here in a mask with haha behind you. Like you have completely shackled the chains and just found who you are slowly and organically and freely. And it's just funny, like, you know, if I ever shared this with normie friends, they'd be like, they wouldn't even know where to start to ask the questions. But the beautiful thing is Bitcoin, ordinals, and ETH and NFTs, like this whole new digital art culture. I think what makes it beautiful is that people like you, people like me, you know, we're entirely different. We probably wouldn't have met in real life unless I was like overseas and maybe like collecting art. But now we have this great melting pot to bring all these artists and coders like Ordinally, and curators like Stephen Rice, and Stephen Miller for that matter, like to bring us all together. And I think it's making a new like power ecosystem that the rest of the world just simply hasn't woken up to yet. And they will. And people slowly are. People are slowly like, maybe I should get Bitcoin, but they don't even know the cultural sticky art and community side of it yet. Because when you do, a lot will be like, oh, that's stupid. I just, Bitcoin is gold. But for us, Bitcoin is fucking immutable, eternal culture, art, and life.
Yes. Yes, man. Wow, well said. I mean, that's 100% true, but I also sometimes feel like we're at the precipice of, like technology and cutting edge stuff. Like I sometimes feel like this is just the beginning of, later on we're gonna look back and say like, oh my God, these were the first innings.
Oh yeah, for
Um,
sure. And nobody likes to hear we're so early. So at least you used a different phrase, but we are. It's like, you know what? And if we're not early, I don't give a shit. Like this is where I want to be. And you know what? Like, cause a lot of people are like, how do we get more ordinals adoption? How do we get more of this or that? To be like, just keep doing what you're doing. You don't need to compare it to other chains. You just need to find
yeah,
what you believe in and keep creating, because you know what? If it might be 6 months, it might be 10 years, it might be 100 years when we're all dead and somebody discovers, be like, wait, why did everyone focus on these other chains when Ordinals has some of the most interesting stuff in it? Or maybe not, but it'll happen when it happens. And I don't care. I'm here for it, and I'm here for the day-to-day existence of it.
I love it, man. I love it. It's same here. I'm breathing this ecosystem. I'm breathing art on chain every day. It's an obsession. It's an obsession, and it's passion, and it's something. I don't know. It's weird, right? It's on the one side, it's it's a little bit weird, but on the other side, it's the most beautiful thing. So it's like it gives you meaning also. It's like there's a lot of meaning into it, like the way we work with the medium, the opportunities we have here, and yeah, the big ones are waking up. I mean, it's so beautiful to see on the one side what's happening with Bitcoin, the whole adoption with Bitcoin as a currency, with Bitcoin as digital gold. It's beautiful to see on the one side. It's a little bit scary on the other side. But the thing we have here with ordinals, most people still don't get it. I had like 3 weeks ago. I mean, now that we have this open conversation, I can share with you. Like, I had a very deep argument with an ETH guy, with an ETH OG, actually with a guy who was starting before me,
Right.
right? Like he was like over a year ago, earlier than me into NFTs and super rare. And there is a meetup I organized with him, and actually he's organizing it
Okay.
now. And it was the fifth or sixth meetup. Every 2 weeks we're doing this in Vienna, and it's a crypto in exclamation marks art. So it's like crypto art meetup. So it's for crypto people, but it's also for crypto for digital art collectors. And we had some crazy people here. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, dude, like guys with 10 plus punks, founders of big tech companies who sold that in the 90s for seven
Oh
figures,
yeah, for
stuff like
sure.
that. So crazy people on the one side, but also on the other side, like regular people who just are interested into what's brewing here or what's going on, and that's really cool. And that meetup is also something what I'm very happy about, that I found that. ecosystem here in Vienna, and I'm actually also part of establishing it. And what I wanted to share is like, we had a big argument. We were drunk, like after many
That's
beers,
usually how
and then he
arguments
suddenly like,
start.
yeah, and then he was like, "Hey, dude, but what the fuck? You think like ordinals are better, and it's
Yeah.
bullshit because what if Casey, like, or this one of these guys like decides he's not caring anymore about the servers, and stuff like that." So the server argument came, and the argument with, but the core people are actually behind it, and if the core people doesn't care about it, then the whole thing is going to fall apart, which is bullshit, of course.
Yeah.
And back
You can
then,
run
because
your
I
own
was over
org node.
drunk,
Yeah.
yeah, I was drunk and I was like, fuck, I want to like really answer like
Right.
very knowledgeable,
Right.
but it was hard doing it drunk. So that's how I myself started a space, and also like where I invited Ordinelli
Right.
and Steven and many OGs, and basically just cleared out
Right.
all the doubts. And actually I had some personal conversations with him since then, and he actually came to me and told like, hey, I didn't knew the information I got back then on Eve was just so different, and so I got the wrong infos about ordinals.
Yeah.
So imagine this, like still today we have many Eve people who don't understand ordinals. They don't get it. They don't understand it. It's truly on chain, and it's like you can work with metadata. You can work with Bitcoin as a canvas in a way you cannot do it that easily on Eve, let's say. You can do stuff on Eve as well, right? With inscriptions, but you need to be very knowledgeable
Oh
about
yeah, you got to know how to go fully on chain. And you know what? ETH is a great place to do art too. I think a lot of the folks are very they have big bags there. You know, like you said, if a guy has 10 crypto punks, he's pretty enmeshed in that community. And I used to have a crypto punk for a while. I found the community in the last couple of years a little more controlling than I would have liked, but I love crypto punks, and I think the sale out of Yuga was the best thing that ever happened. I think it's in the right hands now,
Yes,
and God bless crypto
yeah,
punks. I am
yes,
surprised more haven't dabbled and come over, because I'd still buy on-chain art on ETH, but now like my focus is ordinals, because for me Bitcoin, you know, it's the mother chain, and as a store of value, it's probably way better than ETH. I think with ETH and L2s, that's kind of what did it for me. I still have a couple validators on the ETH side, but the L2s, they don't roll down to ETH enough to make that financial layer strong enough to me. And
yes.
whereas Bitcoin does, and it and in my opinion, it always will. And Ordinals is a perfect icing on the cake, because, you know, except if you're Luke Dash Jr., who just calls it spam. But for the rest of us, you know, a busy blockchain is a healthy blockchain, right? If those mempool fees are higher, it gives miners more money, more incentive to mine. So um, before we wrap up, I just want to like, while you were talking, we went through a lot of your different collections. Like what I know you had a recent release. I think it was the Haha cards, right? We just walked through your on Cyber, which was super awesome. I love this space. But what, like, where would you direct people now to where you want them to go?
Yeah, wow, this went fast, man. This space really flew
I told you
by.
we'd talk about anything. That's what we do here. We have fun. We go
And
deep,
it's and
and you know,
yeah, and it's very refreshing that you asked so many questions about my past and about my upbringing
good.
and stuff like that. Instead of going too much into like, let's say, the artworks itself. That's very refreshing. It's very new. But yeah, so these are the hard cards. It was the first collection in 2023, with the help of Ordinelli and Steven. I could launch these. But the people I would love to direct is, I'm closing actually today the OTC phase of the yearbook. So the Ordinals yearbook, you cannot find it on Magic Eden, but you can if you go to my feed on Twitter,
Can I find it over here?
on X. I'm still saying Twitter, but
I still.
yeah, exactly. If you go to the feed and you scroll a little bit down, not the post because that's a long thread, but if you go to my profile, yeah, and you go down, couple of posts. If you go
Here's
down a
us
couple of
watching
posts,
us live. I love it.
that's
That's
nice.
meta.
I always Yeah, a little bit more. There should be coming like a last OTC call, like a last
There we
call
go.
OTC. Yeah,
Ordinals yearbook number one, last OTC call.
exactly. If you go there, if you click on it and under it, that you have the parent child, the link to the parent child.
Hmm.
Yeah, exactly. So these are 181 pieces, which I created last year, and which captures the first 1.5 years of ordinals.
I
Uh,
love it.
I went to conferences. I was on the first inscribing conference in Amsterdam. I met in San Francisco Casey. I met many OGs from the space, and every time I was there or
There's ZK.
met some people, I took photos. Um, and also not just that, but also so there are four categories. So the one is um, inscription history, basically going back to the very first inscriptions, highlighting the PFPs, which launched already on ordinals. Then, of course, ordinals history itself, the conferences, the people behind it. And then also my personal history, like my haha history within that period of time. Also personal stuff
Yeah, it's
where,
very
for example,
intertwined.
yeah, like personal stuff where my wife got second-degree burns and ended up in a hospital,
Oh,
or that she got pregnant with our baby, stuff like so. Those are not for sale, but
that's the one I
there
want. I
are
want the one of you and your wife, and you found out she was
yeah,
pregnant.
exactly.
That's a perfect thing for someone outside of the family to have. No, these are super cool, and
And there's
that's Casey, isn't it?
Yeah, there are some honoraries. So Casey received an honorary,
Okay,
Erin, Ordinelli, Stevens. So some
cool.
people who were helping me at the beginning received and are going to receive honoraries.
Very cool.
And now the OTC phase is running. I sold already 30 pieces. And the maybe we can show to wrap it up,
Sure.
maybe the video of my museum exhibition, of my first exhibition in the museum in Francisco Carolinum in Linz.
How do I get?
So they are going to, we are in the talks right now, but they are going to collect two pieces out of this collection and going to archive it in their permanent collection. So that's maybe some alpha
Okay.
for for collectors right there.
No, it's super cool. How do I get to the video?
You if you go to my profile on the highlights,
Oh, nice. That's right. I should have checked highlights.
yeah,
Whoopsie, I went too far. Okay, there we go.
under
Highlights.
highlights, the
Yeah.
first one,
Right here.
yeah, this one. Yeah, exactly. So I had the opening of the exhibition like a month and a half ago. It's my first. You will
Oh,
see.
this is
Yeah, just watch it
awesome.
later.
Haha braucht eigentlich nicht viel Erklärung. Es ist ein Laut oder ein Lachen, das kennen wir alle. Es ist aber auch gleichzeitig in so einem Moment der auftritt, wenn sich Perspektiven verschieben, wenn sich neue Dimensionen auftun oder durch eine Positionsverschiebung ein neuer Blickwinkel sich auftut. Und dieser Erkenntnismoment kann auch ein Haha sein.
I love this music.
Yeah, these are the yearbook pieces.
Oh, I love it. This is a great video. This is a great video.
Thanks, man.
My name is Burst. This is my first institutional solo exhibition in a museum. My art is all about bridging the gap between digital and physical by the intersection of technology and static art. This exhibition is curated by Julia Staudach, aka Chuli. Thanks, shout out to everyone involved. See you guys.
But wait, there comes something more.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm jealous of all your talents, by the way. It's like, oh, I'll just play a concerto on the piano. during my art show because I'm awesome.
Oh, come on.
How dare you be so talented? No, I mean, it's just that video is incredible. So well made. Did you make that?
No, I had a team. I had a team from one of the biggest newspapers from Austria, who were helping me with producing that video. Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. Well, Burst, it was so great having you on the show. We didn't even get to other planes and meditation and all that stuff. Like we could have levitated right out of our seats. We're going to do that next though. So it's always good to leave people wanting more, but it was so awesome having you on the show. I really appreciate you, man.
Man, thanks so much. This was I have to say, this was a different space. And thank you for the experience. This was the first time for me also being in this kind of frame. And thank you so much, man, for the appreciation. I appreciate you as well. It's a great stuff. Great space you're doing here. And yeah, looking forward for any time again.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. Well, Steven, I hope you feel better out there. That's how Burst and I got to do this one solo, but we'll have you on with Ordinally very soon. But yeah, we'll be off next week, everybody. I may or may not be in Vegas, but for those who are there, have a great time. And as always, Burst, awesome stuff. Go check them out on Magic Eden, on Super Rare, and your artwork is absolutely beautiful. And I loved your journey and your story, and we just hit the tip of the iceberg there. So, Burst, thank you. Take care, and see you later, everybody.
Bye.